Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Duluth Community Service District regular meeting. This is the meeting of September the 18th of 2024. Our president, Director Debbie Roberts, is not attending today, so I'm Chuck Coleman. I'm as vice president. I'll be chairing the meeting today in her place. So moving forward, let's do the roll call first. Director Carroll.
Here.
Sandra
Here.
Rawson
Here.
Bowman is here and Roberts is absent today. Please join me in standing and saying the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the next item on the agenda is, as always, the sheriff's report. 5048, please.
Good evening, how's everyone doing?
Good.
We had a fairly busy month since our last meeting. Next slide, I'll try to jump into it right away. So we had the first one, we have Fish Circ, that's the business park, that's gonna come in at the very end of this. There's a couple different ones that we did. But essentially the homeless encampments at the base of the hill have been maybe not entirely removed, but are in the process of removing. So the city elected to pay for the cleanup to the tune of $80,000 to remove all the homeless encampment. They had
Moving into.
They are using heavy equipment, bulldozers and skid steers, and removing it, putting it in rollaway dumpsters, taking it to the dump.
How many people were living there?
We arrested, so we did it on 6 different occasions, and we arrested anywhere between 10 to 7 people every time. Sometimes same people, sometimes different. But the city stance on that property is that no more.
What's the charge to them? Is it just trespassing?
It's just, they're out within an hour. No, it's an hour. It's a booking process.
Right.
And when you say at the end of business park, do you mean where the new development is over there?
No, on the other side.
The other side?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So there was, you see 2 calls for service there. This was a 415. There's also a shop call. That was at a short-term rental, we believe. That was having a party, and we responded and dealt with that. Sycamore Mesa, there was a.
Is that a noise complaint?
415 noise. That's a noise complaint. There's theft of some cameras. And AOD was to CHP, there was an accident, I took out the intersection, I should know, but it was an intersection on Duluth Road where there's a traffic accident. Minor to major injuries, no fatalities. Next one is off Rancho, California. That was, a vandalism. Somebody cut the lock to an avocado field, avocado grove, but they couldn't find anything missing, just the lock was broken. Again, we have a short-term rental off of Los Gatos. Shots, we responded. The individual did admit that they were shooting the night prior, but unfortunately, the individuals that were doing it were not there, so I couldn't charge anybody for crime on that one. The next 2 are there's a fraud, and then the next one down is a fraud. These are all frauds that are committed. The first one was somebody purchased a vehicle and gave them a check. Don't accept a check from anybody. Hard cash if you sell a car. And the other one, don't know if it is related to a mailbox theft, but somebody used their address as a home record, and they started receiving solicitation for legal services. Then we go to the civil call, and you'll see ×3. So There was 3 calls out there. That's a short-term rental as well. It was over 300 people, at this location. The problem is that it was an Airbnb, and they have legal standing to be there until you go through Airbnb to cancel the party, to cancel. So it took them quite a while until like 3 in the morning before that could occur. However, in the meantime, we were able to break the party up before, because we just started throwing cars because they were blocking the road back. The 48 pass is ongoing, let's follow up, more. That was a possible theft of fruit. I don't have the initial report, so I don't know what that deputy did. I need to get with that individual, before I go any further, to see what was done and not done. But again, we have another 415 at a short-term rental, -2. That's a noise complaint. The 10X51, the next one, that's a stolen motorcycle. We have 2 in custody, and I think we recovered the motorcycle. And then the last one is vehicle 459 at the golf course. That's in development. We do have some surveillance that we can possibly work up off of a Tesla. And then the final one is a video. Hopefully it works. This is what we've been doing down at the base. So this is one homeless encampment. We've identified 20 roughly the same size. All that debris is all the garbage that they bring up there. There's over, what did I say, 300? 300 propane tanks in all the encampments. So they're literally just piling it up. So that's how much refuse was placed there.
Are there people there or just?
No, that's just their garbage. We just finished
Getting them out?
kicking them out and arresting them. So we have to go through on foot to all these camps and rouse them all out and arrest them. And then they come in. So I don't know the total, but I mean, that's not even all of it. So I think each camp was one lot dumpster, 40-yard.
So of the multiple times that you've been down there, each time at the end of that visit, it was cleaned out, but then it came back or?
No. So we went through and we arrested everybody and explained, you need to not be here. We're going to remove all this. So we did that 6 times before we got to this point where
Okay,
we removed them, then removed this. So the city paid a contractor $80,000 for this. The next closest bid was $200,000. And I don't think this contractor, I think he bid way low.
do you believe anything positive's been done to prevent that from recurring?
Yeah, they removed a bunch of brush that they can't now go back to. So if there's nowhere for them to hide it in plain sight, then they'll move on. So we've already seen they pushed into the city of Temecula further, mainly under the overpasses, and then at the Target shopping center.
Isn't there a homeless advocacy in the city of Temecula?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are
They were with us.
Oh, they were.
Services have been offered to every single one of these people, multiple
Okay.
times.
Isn't that Project Touch?
Hmm?
Isn't Project Touch one of those services?
I know the city pays for a position,
Okay.
Yeah,
like literally, it's not a nonprofit, it is
Okay.
a government entity
Yeah.
that they created. And they've offered services. The problem, the main problem is the residents of the city is very, very nice and generous. And that is translated into it's going to attract people because they'll get money. That's the bottom line. They've been offered everything they could want. There's a team out there that's just called Swag.
Yeah.
And they will literally give them shoes, clothes, and if they so desire, they could probably get them housing that day. It's there's a whole magnitude of things going on, and there's no easy fix. There's some mental health issues, there's some drug use issues, and then there's just outright choice of not wanting to conform with our society.
Mhm.
Which it's hard, I mean, it's a free country to an extent, but that's where we're at with that. Other than that, it's the end of the report. Questions?
It's not. Thank you. I'm gonna correct an error that I made. I'm gonna officially call the meeting to order since I. And, so that was all unofficial. We won't go through it again. Okay, so let's move on to, agenda item C then, which is public comment. Jessica, is there anyone, online that would?
No, sir.
Okay. So with no comments, we'll move on to item D, which is legislative topics. But I understand that Mr. Cyrus Davis is, or Devers, I'm sorry, is not with us tonight. So we really have no input there. So we're just blasting through those. The next item, item E, is the information only information that is a part of each meeting. These are items that have been included in the board package, available online and of course to the directors. They're intended for information purposes only. It includes the financial statements and a statement of investment policy. Do any of the directors have questions on those?
No.
No.
Okay. We'll move on then to the consent calendar, which is item F. And this includes the minutes of the August 21st regular board meeting, the general fund claims for August of 2024, and the sheriff's special tax claims for August of 2024. And if there had been any purchase orders, that would be included, but there weren't. So are there any questions on those? Okay, do I have a motion then to approve those?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Approved, and so we'll go on to what may be the meat of the afternoon, this or the evening, which is our culvert rehabilitation project. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm caught again. So let's have a vote on it. We had the motion and we had the second. So Director Carroll,
Aye.
Delisandre, Ross.
Aye.
And Bowman votes aye. So thank you very much, Robert, for that. And I, by the way, I don't want to become any better at this. So we'll move on to the culvert rehabilitation project. Raj, do you have the presentation for us?
Yeah. Before I start on that one, it is not a culvert rehabilitation project. We finished 9 culverts this year, lining, and it costed us a total of $65,000, out of which 14,000 were extra work. This 13,000 was for French drain, which went underneath culvert 105 on St. Creek. Now I can highlight the problem on St. Creek where the water leakage is there. And we had like a couple of phases which we did. One phase was underneath the culvert 105, where we thought that the water would drain since the French drain was 2 feet below the rainwater pipe. But unfortunately, where the leak is, still it's leaking. And it's leaking further down too. And during rainy season, we also observed the leak was on the other side of the street also. So both sides of the lane, up and down, were leaking. So there were suggestions made that we should put French drain on Grove side where all the water could be leaking. So basically, that's how I want to refresh some of the photos, what we did in the past on Toronto Road to eliminate that problem. So, next slide, please. Okay, this is, just I want to just go back on P 105 culvert on, India Creek, where there was a hole. And we placed French drain, the guys excavating on the bottom side. Next slide, please.
This is at the top of the hill, correct?
Yeah, top of it.
Because if you remember, we explored the possibility that it could be
Yeah,
running,
the water might be running down, so.
using the water main and gravel. Water main, so.
So this is the French drain which we placed underneath the pipe. The culvert 105, and the water is still draining over there, you could see that. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the location where basically, if you look at it, on both sides of the lane, the water leaks during rainy season. When the rainy season is not there, it leaks on southbound traffic. You see where the southbound is. On left hand side, it leaks all those three or four spots. And it leaks continuously. So probability, mostly the water might be coming from hills, from the groves, as we have seen on Karancha. So there was a proposed suggestion that we should put a French drain, where you see it in the picture, between culvert 105 and 106. To take that water from the hills to the creek from 106, which goes across Celia Creek into the creek. Any questions over there? Anybody else want to know anything?
Let me bring a couple of comments in as we're going through this, Raj. The occurrence of the water on Sandia Creek has been an ongoing thing for some time now. And we know that the surface water is getting higher statewide with the rains of the last couple of years. And that led, among other things, to the work that was done on the culvert that Raj described a moment ago, and that work was quite successful. But what we're looking at here, quite honestly, we don't know the answer to it yet. And so in the course of the engineering committee meeting last Tuesday, the committee felt it was appropriate to bring this to the board for discussion and help in deciding which direction that we need to go, if anywhere, right now. And so do you have more on what the proposed work
Yes.
for a drain would be here?
Yeah, it is coming, it's in the last slide.
Okay, let me just quickly summarize it and then have you come in and fill in some of the holes. Because the French drain along the side of the road worked in other locations, principally over on Toronto, where we had a ongoing issue. And because we've seen water under the road up by the culvert that was repaired, and a French drain was put under that culvert before it was repaired to be able to get that water out. There's concern that if it exists under the road, it could be doing significant damage, but it may be doing no damage at all. It could be an indication that there's moving water there that could end up with a sinkhole. And it could be just simply a pressure right under the surface that's coming to the surface near a patch. So in an effort to try to decide what we should do, Raj looked at a plan of what we could do. And at the same time, we looked at what other things might be a path to an investigation to determine what would be more appropriate. And to be honest, most of those are as expensive or more so than doing the suggested work here. But we have no assurance that this is going to take care of the problem or that the problem is a significant problem. So depending on what information comes up in the future, either doing it or not doing it may be the right path. It all depends on what we see in the future, and we just don't know where that's gonna be. So to do it now, we'd use up most of the funds that we have available. What's left from the culvert rehabilitation and the other road funds for this year. And that would leave us very light on funding for any kind of extra work that may come up that may be of a higher priority. On the other hand, if there is a significant issue and we see a closure of Sandia Creek while we repair that, that would be an issue. So it's something for discussion. And the discussion may lead to doing something or not doing something or doing something different than what we're looking at now. But having said all of that, I'd like for Roger to present to you what we think is a relatively low-cost path to doing something. And then we need to decide whether or not that's the right path to follow or not. And Raj has some other suggestions too, and Matt had some comments about potentially doing some drill holes to investigate further what was underneath. I think we covered that at the meeting, but if you go ahead now, Raj, I'm sorry. I didn't
No, you
mean to-
got it, that's very good. You got that, whatever. Pause it there. But, and that's like, okay, this is what we did on Coranza. So just a refresher on what we did. This is what we would be doing if we do on Sandia Creek. We will just dig a trench, place water barrier along the side of the roadway. And whatever the water is coming from the groves, from the hills, it will be caught over there and diverted to creek. So basically, that's the fundamental over there. So just I'm showing you photographs, how the work will be done. Next one.
Shift our attention to this one.
Okay, yeah, I think it's over there. Yeah, right in front, oh, they can see, okay. Two different ones.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah, go for slides.
that's the location.
Start here. Go there.
Right, so basically let's look at that in front over there. So this is what we'll be doing. We have a barrier, we got a French drain pipe, and we got 3/4 inch rock. So this will be basically this is the idea that this type of work will be done if approved on Sandia Creek. Next slide, please. So this is in continuation how it will be looking. Once the pipe is down, they will fill up with rock. Next slide, please. So this is where the filter fabric is wrapped up all around. So the water goes in and get caught and diverted to French rock. Next slide, please. Okay, this is basically the estimate which we calculated with Cody Construction, Candy Construction. He wants labor somewhere around 7,000 a day with his equipment. We estimated 4-day work, 28,000 for his labor and equipment. And the cost of other material is right down there, so 37,000 we are estimating it will cost us. And basically, we have $3,500 worth material in hand, which is already paid. So overall, I would say 40 grand we are looking at to do that. Contract.
And those are all materials that we'll
Yeah, everything, everything is.
use them here or not.
Yeah.
And the site as it exists right now has a ditch with a slurry coat, I believe, between the road bed and the uphill section, doesn't it?
No. It is asphalted right now.
It's asphalt.
Yeah, it's asphalted, it's a V-ditch basically.
Yeah.
So in the shoulder section, as you see in the picture over there, it's a shoulder section, it's a V-ditch. And what we'll be doing is, it's already sawn, so socket, we don't need it. And probably, I will say it would be a good idea if approved that we have a grinder. One day the grinder goes and just grinds the top of it.
Yeah.
So we can reuse it.
Reusing.
Yeah, so that will save at least a day.
Now, last year, we had some repairs, emergency repairs that were done on Sandy Creek fairly close to this.
Correct.
And those were caused by
Water.
water damage
Yes.
that created some large
Correct.
potholes.
Remind me what streets this is
Okay,
between.
this is on Sandy Creek.
Mosquito Circle, you know where
Well, I
that
know
is?
exactly where it was, and I passed by there.
Yeah.
There's not one drop of water on the road.
It's been there and been not there.
That's
Yeah.
it comes and goes, yeah.
Yeah, well,
And it's probably an indication of the level of the groundwater.
or you said there's a grove, it could be the watering from the grove.
Cause during the
does.
summertime, there's no water on the road.
Yeah.
So it's getting to that time of the year now where everyone's watering, the rain's about to start. The water levels usually rise about this time of year, so.
Yeah. We've just gone through a significant high temperature period.
This whole summer,
Probably,
this whole summer it was leaking,
Pardon me?
this whole summer, the water was leaking on the surface.
right,
Maybe, as you must have not seen it, but
No, I've seen it.
so
I've
when the
seen it.
grow, the water grow, whenever they water it,
Mhm.
the water just starts percolating. And when they water it, I think the water level goes high. Something happens
Mhm.
and the water goes.
What were you recommending as far as like seeing what's under the road? Can we tell if there's dirt displacement?
Well, what was brought up was asking, could we find the geotech, or could we do a geotech report? The downfall is, once the water's underground, it's in dirt, you can't really track it.
Mhm.
Geotechs really can only find where there's water, they can't really find where it's coming from. They can
Right.
do a grid of borings and find where the depths are and see what the pattern is, but that's gonna cost you more than just
Doing it.
trying this.
But I'm,
and that's good only for that point in time.
Yeah.
So what we may see is that when rains come during the wetter season, that everything resurfaces.
right, I understand, but I'm
And,
just concerned. My question is, I guess you can't tell if there's displacement of the dirt under the road. That's what I'm asking.
Exactly. We don't know. And that's one of the concerns is that we could be in the process of creating a sinkhole there. It's not likely, I don't think,
Mhm.
but that's one of the extreme possibilities. We saw the bottom of the culvert, toward town and uphill that was taken out by, rusted out by water flowing underneath that, and it was still flowing, which is where the, French drain went that was a part of that culvert repair. So we've had water issues in that area, like what caused the issues last year with the emergency repairs from some large potholes. But that was in a period of very heavy rain. And we don't know whether we're gonna see that again this year. The potential is that if we do, that the work that we did last year could be erased. It was a repair, it wasn't a rebuild. It's possible that putting this drain in would help the road bed farther down where we had those issues before. But the biggest issue is we can't point to a precise answer of what's going to happen if we do or if we don't do the work. And, so that's what leads us to
No
the point of a
guarantee.
decision. It's not going to be a scientific one, it's going to be
There's no guarantee. that this is going to
right.
work, that amount of money.
it's gonna be a combination of finance and potential and probabilities, and we just don't have a solid recommendation right now.
What's the likelihood this will work?
What we can do is, I was thinking about it. Let's do some test pits,
Do somewhat?
test holes. Test holes, maybe 10 by 4 feet, to see if the water is really coming from road. And we can do a couple of flowers on shoulder side. And then go from there.
So you're saying.
And without doing an array, as Matt said, of test holes, you really don't know whether you happen to hit a good spot or not.
We have to.
That not, now I can do like 6, 7 places,
Right.
because we're doing 400 feet, so.
What would that cost doing test holes like that?
For 1 day, the cost is $7,000, labor and equipment.
Can our people do that? Need to bring
I
someone in?
guess, people can do it.
No, but we've got traffic issues,
Well,
yeah.
We'll be, you know,
so
be able to hire people,
that's very expensive too,
that's $2,000 a day.
2,000 a day.
Explain that to me. What's the $2,000 a day?
Flagman,
Flagman, 2 flagman,
it will be down to 1 lane.
You mean you can't set that out there? I'll take the other end and do that.
I was hoping maybe.
that would be nice.
Just Isabel go there?
Yeah.
There you go. All you guys go there. Come up there. We'll do it all in town.
Yeah, right.
About this flagging and things again.
Okay, so we spent $2,000 for flagging and, our guys did some test holes that would save the $7,000, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Just have to get, the traffic control.
You're gonna get
Yeah,
excavator,
To rent an excavator.
you're gonna excavator dump truck, because,
we have a dump truck.
If you're just doing test holes, then yeah, we could use probably our dump truck for that, yeah. Just to haul a little bit of demo and some materials, some dirt, but, yeah, so you go either way, you can you can contract Cody out, and get his guys out there to do it, or you can contract us out traffic control and a machine. So it's either way where we can do it, or you can pay the contractor to do it. So it's just either way, you're gonna spend some money, either if it's gonna be for traffic control or if it's gonna be for an operator and machine. Or also for traffic control, it's gonna also be for a machine for us too, because we need an excavator to be able to haul that out like he's talking about, so.
And one of the unknowns is that when we pull our guys off of other work to do whatever the job
Absolutely,
is,
yeah.
or flagging
Right.
or actually the work. If,
If I got a tree that goes down or something,
Yeah.
and now it's like, well, then I got an operator and his kids to steer the road, and then now I got a tree down and.
That's always the problem.
It's always.
Absolutely, it's always a possibility, yeah, absolutely, so,
Territory.
yeah,
yeah,
what makes this different though is that we've got the road closed. When that tree goes down across the road someplace else or whatever it might be.
But again, they could be working at somewhere else. in the-
yeah, it could happen any day, I get it, it can happen any day. Yeah.
I think this is, I think we should do a little bit further investigating, because that's a lot of money. And there's no guarantee. That's my opinion.
So if you did the holes, what could you find that would be helpful?
Whether the holes are wet, saturated or not.
And if they
If
were
they are
wet,
saturated, the water is coming from there.
like, who tells you where the water's coming from?
Yeah, it tells you really where water is, to be completely fair. So we might dig 2 feet down and find water, and then we know, like, water's shallow here. We don't necessarily know it's coming from the hill. So at that point, there's no way to know it's coming from. It's right there at the hill.
It would just tell you where the water's at, it wouldn't tell you where it's coming from, or none of that, it would just say, yeah, there's water there.
But the natural topography would be to go towards the creek. So overall, the water should be flowing that direction. Because the creek is 10 feet to the left off this image.
30, 40 feet.
The intent of this is to put a barrier across the water flow path if it's coming from uphill. And if it's close enough for the to the surface that we intersect it with this. So that instead of going under the road, we divert it down to a culvert and take it across the road at the culvert and into the creek.
But
Yeah.
And I think we can be certain at some point that would help. is it meaningful for this? That's the problem.
Mhm.
Certainly in heavy rains, water coming off of the hill, the diversion would be in addition to other means right now, which is the ditch.
Mhm.
And there's evidence that we've had issues there before because of the erosion of the roadbed just below this, slightly downhill from this.
This is also,
But would we do this if that were the only reason? Probably not.
the road already started deteriorating over there. It is not in good shape.
This is kind of, I don't want to say standard, but when you have a hillside like this with a road adjacent, you don't have any retaining structures. It is pretty standard to have an under drain of some sort. I think we know they're missing from all over. News County didn't feel them at the time,
No. we do
but,
not.
And the costs that we're seeing here, I think you said were typical of the cost for doing that kind of work.
it's definitely not inflated at all.
No.
LA County, we see typically $100 to $150 per foot or stuff like this, and like this, it's not a long stretch, so $150 foot would be pretty reasonable, which would be around 60,000 acres for this, so.
When you clear land and replant, there is a disruption of the flow of water. And you can have all kinds of problems as a result of that. We see that all the time. The interesting thing is I've been driving that road for many years and haven't seen water until 2 years ago. Was there any work done on that hillside? Well, I mean, that
Well,
would
it
be
was replanted about 4 years ago.
well, see, that may well be part of the issue there. I mean, I think there's, that's exactly what happens when you replant. Is that you disrupt the natural flow. We have a neighbor who was anyway, a testament to that very fact. That it can tremendously disrupt the flow of water.
Yeah.
So we may well be seeing that result.
I'm off actually by a year. It was 5 years ago. My trees have been in 4, and it was a year before I did.
I'll comment a little on that, because that grove is pretty mature right now, that grove that's up there. And I was asking about that because my thing was, okay, if you do that, is it gonna disrupt his driveway or anything? That grove is really steep, they were saying. So whenever I look for, and we do this being in real estate a lot, you'll see like someone will come in and do some grading or some this, and you'll see it'll rain and then all this dirt will be on the ground. You don't necessarily see that there, you see water. So I don't think it's a problem of the grove itself. I think the grove is pretty holding on. It's not producing a lot of dirt overflow from stuff being moved. I don't think that's an issue. I think it's just like everything else in Southern California, the rain extensively, and that's causing the rise underneath whatever there is. My concern is, we've looked at this in engineering many times, or I think you want to do something before, could there be a sinkhole? We saw it on Sandia Creek. When that happens, your expense goes from 30,000 to 300,000 or more overnight. And that's what I don't want to
No,
occur.
No, how long would it take to test? Do a few holes, not very long, would it?
To just hold them to get a day's worth of work, but
No, we're gonna.
yeah, that's all I'm gonna tell, yeah.
For an hour, okay?
Yeah, well, we could go on and on about this, yeah,
I'm just not sure what it's gonna show.
that's,
We've
guessing-
disrupted traffic. You look at this, and this is making me real nervous. You look at the size of that shoulder, whether it be contractor or these.
Yeah.
guys,
it's tight.
That makes me really nervous.
no, we had to close the lake.
And especially with, well, I know you're gonna close the lane, but like, it's not a lot of traffic by regional standards for Sandy, but there's a lot of traffic for us going by. And it's gonna be, one lane. I just, I don't know.
Do
I
the
just
repair,
think
you're gonna do the
We're
same
faced with
thing.
that whether we do
we
it.
need to do it, let's do it. And dig in holes, you know what you're gonna find, you're gonna find water. And I'm not in I don't know, I've only heard about this for an hour. So I'm thinking, oh, it's
Okay,
okay.
here's the thing, let me go back a little bit, since they were telling they don't know, which direction the water is coming from. One side you got a creek, which is 40 feet or 50 feet away from the shoulder. The water won't go in opposite direction from the creek towards the hill. Common sense is, it's just a common sense, not engineering sense. The water is coming from hillside. That's the only spot left. Or you have a water main, which is in the center of the road. That is it. There are two things only which you can think of. The water main is leaking, or you're coming from hills. And water main is not leaking because sometimes people don't see water on top of surface. So basically it's coming from hills.
And
Whenever
water,
water, the ground, the water flows.
Rancho Water has tested it and can't find chlorine in it, so they believe it's not their water.
I thought the issue is that we know that it's coming from the hill. And that, we know that the issue is where is it coming?
Where
I mean, and
they put, you see all those 3-4 spots where it's leaking? Should be leaking.
And how deep? And how
How deep, yeah, how deep.
that's a real
So-
issue.
So the thing is this, what we will do is, if approved, when we will do French drain.
Yeah.
We will do the testing at the same time. How deep is
Same time.
test hole? We will do,
Test
yeah, test hole or pit hole, whatever you want to call, to see what depth we will go.
They have to do test.
So, yeah, at that time we can analyze it,
That's,
so we don't go back and forth,
Right,
and you save your 7 grants in that process.
So you're saying when you do the French drain, do the test hole? at
Yes, the same,
time?
yeah. Because that, your trench will become your pit hole. It's part of the pit hole.
So we do the project?
Depends on the road.
He's saying do
I'm
the French
confused.
drain.
It does change and it probably changes the cost if it's very deep.
Very deep. It should not be because your water main is there in the center of the pipe, in the center of the street. And most probably it is flooded. The water is climbing up at that point and flowing up on the other side. So that's why it comes up. That's what my assumption is. I don't know.
Chances of it's gonna be shallow, 'cause it's
No,
popping up.
the water main is not more than 3 feet deep.
So you're gonna find it with 4 feet, and that's what we'd probably put the pipe is 4 foot depth.
Yeah, at the most.
Would our guys be the flag crew for on this project?
That are not part of.
So we got
We got insurance.
so we would be no part in it whatsoever. No dump truck, no machine.
We tried it before, but the storm came and they got busy and we called the work. Oh, you remember last week?
So then Cody's bid included flag.
Yeah, he doing the whole thing.
If we do the French drain, it's going to be closed. If we do
It's right
the,
there. It was there.
I didn't see the like flag.
Right, sir. That's
That's included in it.
everything.
if we do the French drain, the road will be closed for more than one shift. It'll Be closed.
One way,
4 days.
will be closed, one day will be open.
Right. But doesn't that require a flag man
Of course,
there
yes,
around the clock?
yes, not around the clock,
They'll close
not
it.
around the clock.
They'll close
Because
it.
we are on the shoulder side, we will be working on shoulder and cleaning up every day. So the traffic is open.
Okay,
Yeah, so at night it's fine.
What are working hours, 7 to 4?
We'll see, whatever is the 8 to 4, whatever it is.
so we'd reopen the road
Yeah,
at the end of the shift.
yeah. Every day. That's a plan.
So it would be possible for our crew to do the flag work. Since it's,
Should be different.
That's what he just said, no, because they get called away.
They
Well,
want to do it, if they have time, yes.
if
they
we
want to.
accept it, they can't do anything else.
Certified,
Yeah.
okay, to do that, and This is something we've been talking about. I guess now I'm gonna have to get serious here. They can't be out doing that type of a flag work. They're not certified.
Okay,
Cody can, he can only
Yes.
hire certified with certificate, they've been to state training. Because our work comp carrier doesn't know.
okay.
Because all the rules have changed on this in the last year. So that's why
Makes
I
sense.
had Candy get the flag man because he gets them, and yeah, that's expensive as all get out. But,
What you can do is, they can operate the equipments. And we can say $2 per day. If they're available. And if they're not, then I think we have Cody do it.
I think it's,
We don't stop.
me, it's hard to, if I was a contractor,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I don't wanna do that to these guys.
If they're having limited work, they run around and.
Yeah, I mean,
all of a
yeah.
sudden in the middle of the, there's an emergency, the tree fell down and.
Well,
And everybody's,
I just think if you're gonna have Cody do it, let Cody.
yeah.
Yeah, the certification takes all that over.
It takes-
some that just.
Yeah. I mean, we've got them on so much other stuff that they're doing and saving cost in other ways that I think
Right.
this would be better just to like.
But we don't want to be here next month discussing this and saying, that didn't work.
Yeah.
We had this discussion the last time before, you know, and that didn't work.
Right.
And then the time before you did it, and that didn't work. So, and you're telling me this may not work.
Well, I never said that. That will work. Very first time I told, I suspect, because most of the people in this house were to do it. So I told, okay, let's do it because it's not my money, it's taxpayers' money. So let's do that. It was supposed to be done in anyways. So that's why we spent 14 grand on that. Patrick.
I'm not,
Well,
I'm just blaming you. I'm just telling you that from my perspective here, this is the third time we talked about it. We've done things and none of them have worked. And this is the proverbial, you know what this is, of course, the bottomless pit, so to speak. And, we could be here next month and you say, well, you know, it would have worked if, or what we needed to do were holes in the ground and we didn't do them. So I mean, it just, maybe we need to go ahead with this, that's fine. But it just seems to me we're doing that and we really don't know
No.
if this is gonna work.
That's really, really true.
And that's a lot of money to spend,
It's a lot of money.
to spend $40,000 on, we don't really know if this is good work.
The unfortunate thing is the technology doesn't give us an answer right now, so it doesn't fall to the people making the proposal or doing the work. It really falls to us because it's not a technical decision. It's a risk decision.
What about LiDAR?
Working on it. So, there is some processes going on with. Drone penetrating radar to. But also very expensive and still not very
Accurate.
precise. And we're looking at shallow groundwater, so we're
Yeah.
2 to 4 feet.
And when that technology is used to find wells, the well diggers tells me it's roughly equal to someone out there with bent containers.
I was gonna recommend we get that.
Well, do it.
Why not?
Want him to.
You know, the answer is coming. We had, 2 years of all this rain. Everybody's having this problem, you know, you read the newspaper, you know, the news, this and that. In a few months, it's not gonna be an issue because everything's gonna be wet for, 6 months. Maybe we just keep looking at this, even if it's a Cody contractor, this location for doing all this digging and all this just makes me nervous. I'd much rather see it. Well, that's the hillside. That's what's causing the problem. There's no shoulder there. And working out on the road and people are coming down that hill. And, our drivers are, they go pretty fast up there. I'm just thinking we need to just maybe slow down. But that's just my opinion. I'm just listening to everything else, but, and maybe as, we get through the winter months, we keep studying this and I don't know where it's gonna go. But with like a 50-50, you know, I made some joke, well, if we're gonna put $50,000 up, with only a 50% guarantee, I'll take it to Vegas for you, and if I win, I'm a hero and ticker tape parade. But, if we lose, I mean, 50,000 down the drain, that's not so good either, that's not good at all. So,
And then wait against, if we don't do it and something
we get a single.
that creates a larger issue occurs. So there's not really a right or a wrong decision right now. There will be in the future.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that is. So it comes to us as a board to make the decision because it's a risk decision. It's not a technical decision. So we have to look at the risk of doing it and not doing it, and the cost of doing it and not doing it, and make our best decision on whatever our feelings or experiences have been. We can delay the decision for another month, but if we do, we're gonna be getting very close to the time that we won't be able to do something.
Oh, I think we have a little bit of time. It doesn't rain until.
I had 3 inches in 20 minutes.
Well, that was fighting and that's what, Chuck, that is not the.
It certainly is. I was very surprised.
Yes, yeah, that's not the norm. The norm is after, you know,
Right.
January, February is when we get most of the rain. So I do think we have a little bit of time.
I think we probably do, but it's,
Yeah.
I can't put any likelihood on that thinking. It's-
Well, it's a gamble.
Yeah, it is a gamble.
The other part of that is, so we wait a month, now what are we going to know in
Yeah.
a month?
Well,
What are we gonna know in 2 months?
I'll get out there with a shovel and start.
Do you have to take?
I mean, no one, no one.
I'll be your.
Can't you just take a shovel in the dirt and see?
Well, it's always paved, right, all the way to the hill.
Yeah, on the side where you wanna put the French drain, yeah, so. It's already cut, it's ready to be demoed out and everything, it's just. What do we wanna do, which is what it comes down to, so.
And we had success in the French drain on Carancho. That was.
And we have, yeah, both places.
Like, it's,
Nick made the decision.
it's your guys' decision, like I said, it's like, it's your guys' money, it's just one of those things, we could do it. And then it works, cool, we hit the lottery, awesome. We could not, we could do it and it doesn't work, and now we're back here like how we are right now, just all looking at each other, trying to figure out what we can do about it, so.
Matt,
Yeah.
Nothing, that's all the option there.
give us your opinion. What would you do at this point?
You have limited funds, which is the scariest part, obviously. I mean, there's a chance we get no rain and it's not a concern for
Mhm.
years and years and years because.
But nothing like that ever works out for us on the
Yeah.
board.
I think I mean, like I said, would be standard practice was to install this when the road was put in, originally. And that's why those culverts exist, is to, French drains would take water to those culverts and let them cross the road. But since they don't exist, it does become the question of, is it worth it? Is it single likely? I mean, we never know. That's the really scary part for you guys, is that there could be one forming, but we don't see any signs of it, but sometimes you don't, so. that's
Very- yeah.
Okay, I wanna bring it up, something. Along the water main trench, along the water main line. The pavement is depressing. All the way through. So. I don't know what is causing it. But there is some depression on the road, in the center of the road.
And that could be the road failing against the one side slurry trench they filled. Cause the slurry is not gonna fail, but the roadway might, or it could be sand disappearing. There's no real way to know that either. We see that in a couple places though.
Yeah.
True. So overall, the money, it's a risk, it is, if it's gonna fix it. Do I think it's gonna fix it? I think it probably is a good option. I think it's probably what should have been done. But there's not 100% way to know. The only other place the water could be coming from is down the road itself, really. So, I take that with a grain of salt, but realistically, it's probably the only option. The only other option we discussed a little bit, which is probably gonna be almost as expensive as trenching across the road and installing one. But then we also have to worry about outletting the pipe into the creek and environmental and pipe and everything, so.
But we're facing that, if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other option is, that's a big expense. Probably 100,000 or more, maybe.
Depends, I haven't dealt with the environmental.
Yes, I was just gonna ask you, is there environmental issues with this project we're talking?
I don't think so,
This maintenance?
because we're not changing anything, we're not adding a new outlet into the creek, there's not water being added, we're not putting anything new in the creek. The water's already getting there one way or another for us. I don't think we touch environmental, but if we added a new outlet pipe, then it would be.
Okay.
So if we did where we did it across, then it would be environmental.
Right.
This would not be.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we should probably go ahead.
Yeah.
I think that's a much, actually kind of come around to that feeling about it because I do think that we'll be here in a month and there'll still be water. 2 months, there'll still be water. And we're just going to keep looking at that. And there is, I think the risk for a sinkhole is incredibly small, but, there is that potential. And there is, the potential that it could erode the road further and cause more damage and then require us to do even more work. But the other thing is that if it doesn't work, the option is very unattractive. And, then we will have a real decision
Mhm.
to make, which is, do we want to spend all that money to fix this or not? I think this is not a tremendous amount. It's a lot of money for us. I don't mean to imply that it's not a lot of money. But I think we're going to face this issue somewhere down the road, whether it's today, tomorrow, next month, the month after, sometime later. And even as you say, Jim, it's gonna rain and it'll all be wet. We won't notice it, but then it's not gonna rain. We'll notice it. We'll be here in March or not March, April or May, saying the same thing. Well, what are we gonna do now? So I think it's a very, very unpleasant, decision to have to make, but I think it's probably my opinion. And everybody could have their own opinion. And should, that it might be the best way to go since there were another option, or if there were a way to study this safely, I would prefer that and spend $7,000 or $10,000 on it. I think I would prefer that, but I'm hearing that that's a safety concern and other issues related to it. And that it might not give us exact information to pinpoint the problem, in which case we will have wasted $7,000 or $10,000. So maybe we should go ahead and do this and hold Raj responsible if it doesn't work.
Yeah, one thing too, so we're
And
paying.
hold you responsible too.
Well, I got, well, then we're fine.
Yeah, they got lawyers.
When they start this, I mean, obviously, they're gonna have to excavate and dig the holes. They're getting paid by the day. There's no agreement in place for Cody to go do the whole project. So if they dig the holes and there's no water, then they can wrap up.
They can stop.
Yeah, and then it only costs the 1 day of labor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, so then what can we
Can
do?
we dig more
Well,
holes?
then we at least don't have to, I mean, then we're not at 40,000, we'll be out.
So yeah.
But then we have to dig more holes.
Okay, here's the thing, here's,
Well, then we know it's not going from there, so.
okay, let me see. with that question. Let's start when they're working, not when they're not working. When they're watering the roads, the water comes up. When they're not, the water doesn't come up.
Find out when he's irrigating.
Exactly,
Next,
exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
because the
So
irrigation.
we need to know what they're doing is right.
Well, let me bring up something with that though. Let's suppose that it is the irrigation. So what? You can't tell a landowner that he can't irrigate.
Yeah. At least
That
people will
doesn't-
get satisfied that, okay, all right, you're doing it, we're spending the money.
But that tells you that it's coming from uphill. But gosh, it's gotta be coming from uphill anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
But what he's saying is when we should do it when there's water.
No, when it comes to.
Oh,
test-
doing the
when
testing.
it comes to test holes, the way
Yeah,
you want to save money. That's what the question was, okay, $7,000.
The water from that irrigation,
Yeah.
it reaches the road 2 to 3 days after.
right,
it's
that's
been
right.
pumped.
You can be sure of that.
But I think we need to find, it would be a good thing to find out, because on our property, from the top of our hill, we have a big cement drain, and for a while there, twice a week, we would have just enormous amount of water coming down that, going under our driveway, which is meant to, through the drain, and go out on our property. I said, what in the world is going on? Well, this happened maybe for a month or two, and then it completely stopped. So there was someone had a major problem with their irrigation and didn't realize it.
I don't think we're looking at that kind of problem with.
No, I
irrigation
agree,
here.
I agree, not.
I think
that
it's
much water.
underground flow. And what I see on my property, which has a similar hill, it's about a 400-foot
Mhm.
lift from the road up. It takes about 2 weeks after a heavy rain before I see water coming out at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
It
Yeah, I know.
just slowly comes down
Oh,
through.
yeah, we see that too. We see.
So in the absence of a really heavy rain,
Mhm.
I doubt that we're gonna see a lot of change from irrigation, which tends to be at a slow enough delivery rate to,
Okay, but that was an irrigation issue.
yeah, but that was flowing water in a concrete ditch, right? Or
Yeah, that came from way up above.
Well, they had a broken pipe and.
Yeah, I think it
out
was
of
your
here.
right.
But you know, if you're a landowner and you're irrigating and it's going under the road, you should want to know.
Yeah,
And maybe what you can do is alter the way you irrigate to save yourself some money.
yeah.
You know, I mean, so maybe that person could be brought into this discussion. I'm not suggesting they're at fault.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting that there may be ways for
If-
that person to help.
If
themselves.
they had a big broken pipe, like a big, you'd see something.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
you'd see.
I know what they look like.
So,
No, you would, on that road. But I mean, this might be, he may have a sprinkler that's been shoot off, people, I don't know if you guys walk your lines, but when you
Yeah, we
walk your
do.
lines, you see what's gone on.
yeah, the coyotes.
I don't know who that owner is, I could probably,
That's not the case. I don't think,
Yeah,
it was that much because,
Yeah.
2 years back, rancho water went over there, dug a hole. For 2 months, they were sitting there pumping the water. And they could not fix it. Then they tested it, hey, it's not off. They just closed it and.
So I do think we should, that's my opinion, that we should go ahead with the project and spend.
Over the last week while I've been thinking about this, I've drifted toward that direction. Mostly because there's a benefit to having it done,
Near it.
even if it doesn't fix this problem. Now, it's not a benefit that I would have wanted to spend that amount of money for, but it's not a total loss in that we do have issues on the road there with water, which is what created the potholes last year. And it's likely because this is the biggest source of water and that big hill is the biggest source of water. It's likely that we would see some benefit from it. So I'm trading that off against the negatives of doing it. In that it just kind of tips it over to the positive side for me. I think there is a likelihood that this is the source of water that's going to the road. But that and a dollar will buy you a donut.
I think you're right. The question is whether this is fixed. or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
That's-
I don't deny that this is water. The question is whether it's fixed or not.
I think it's a.
But by going down 4 feet, if it's below 4 feet, it's unlikely it's gonna have significant damage on the road bed. So it's most likely, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I just.
It's most likely that it will be, I think, that it'll be closer to the surface.
Around 3 feet, 2.5 feet, that way it should be.
Or let me say that differently, that when it's a problem, it will be closer to the surface. Will it be closer to the surface tomorrow? Maybe not. We've had 2 weeks of 110-degree weather. And a lot of that,
But there has been water on the road. So
Yeah, there was, whole summer it was there.
that's right.
Well-
I saw it yesterday.
Maybe
Oh,
there
did you?
should be a contingency if it is approved that when the project starts, if there's no water seen by a few holes, then the project should stop till we can figure out what's causing it. That's what you would
What
suggest.
you're suggesting is if there's water into it, if there's not water, wait.
Yeah.
till
That's
it-
what basically was brought up, and then what our assumption is that the water is coming from gas. And it's coming because of over
Right,
irrigation or whatever you wanna call it,
right.
and we have seen that water stops sometimes and most of the time you see it is there.
I've seen it pretty
It
steady.
doesn't say it.
What I have seen is it's in a different, it's not in, it was in 2 places before.
No, it's three,
Now
four
it's in
places.
1 place.
No, not 3, 4 places.
Well,
It's
I
going
mean,
down.
one area, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But it was coming on the road in several different places.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole road basically is illegal, so to me, whether to fix or not, let's put that trench drain regardless, but it cleans it.
So does the
If the designer,
engineering committee have a recommendation they want to propose as a motion?
Our recommendation coming out of the meeting last week was that we go ahead with it. A part of that came from what's a very likely situation that repairing it next year is gonna be more expensive than repairing it this year.
Mhm.
Both materials and labor and the fact that we're gonna do damage between now and then. Does that agree with what you?
I agree that we should fix it. I know it is a risk. I think it is the right risk to take. I also feel that you need to use an outside contractor with flagmen to do the work and not the liability on CSD, whether it be Cody or whoever, but I think you mentioned that, there's some people that have bid it a little higher. And I think it needs to be done, and maybe there isn't a sinkhole, but eventually, if it rains and it keeps going. We had that sinkhole by our house, and that took a year or more, 2 years, before we didn't have to do a detour. That would be a terrible detour right where that is.
So make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we, well, first of all, are we in agreement to, proceed to a vote?
I have nothing more to say. on this one.
Okay. Then I'll make the motion that we continue with the repair as staff has proposed it. Pending any discovery that they may make that would lead them to reverse their decision in the course of doing the work.
I second the motion.
Okay, we'll proceed to the vote then. Director Carroll,
Okay, I'll say aye.
Delisandro.
Aye.
Rawson.
Aye.
And Bowman votes aye. And hopefully we won't have a lot of conversation on this.
Yes. We'll take care of it.
Clarification, when will this start? We've been talking about, when we keep kicking it back, when do you think this will start? Monday of next week?
Next Monday, let me talk to Cody, if we can schedule.
Yeah, 'cause he's been kind of drugging along because we wanted to have this project.
So
So it could be this Monday, the following Monday,
I'll let you know,
or,
let me talk to Cody.
okay,
So,
and then we'll let you no, email or
You most
something.
always know the next Monday, but I'll make sure that the screw is there.
We'll see it and we.
Yeah, everybody can call.
No, I'm here next Monday.
I try to make a policy. document and we'll-
Oh, I know.
All right, so that gets us past item G then, and let's move on to H. Is the road maintenance crew report.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Thanks for all the work on that, Ryan.
Thank you, Rush.
alright, I guess blue over
You
here.
can use any display you want.
Alright, I think that's my only
There we
option.
go.
I'll talk about something else, move, change the subject. There we go. Alright, so this is over on, Avenue Doro. We were driving past the road and it's obviously missing that whole section right there, the striping and everything, so. We filled in the asphalt, we compacted it, had to do like 2 or 3 layers to make sure it matched the road surface. Next slide. And then we striped it after, so now it's not. It's a drop off right there and it's not a pothole anymore. Next slide, Jessica. Same, oh,
Sorry.
no words. Down, yep, beautiful. So the side on the left, that's the original pothole, it's called in by a resident. Right side, we went over there, we cut it out, it's only got that crack that's running through it, but the rest of the asphalt still intact, it still looks pretty good. Next slide, Jessica. Yeah, so same thing, filled it in, compacted it, and now it's all, I think, was there anything before it? Guess not, maybe not. Yeah, that's what it looks like after it was done, compacted it, made it match the road surface level again. Next slide, Jessica. Same thing, this one's over on San Diego Creek, this one's right above the leaky spot we were just talking about, in the same lane, the side of where they want to do the French drain. It's all eating up, as you can see, but we cut it out of what we could. Obviously, it's all alligatoring, you know, there's only so much we could take out without ripping up the whole entire road, so we took off what we could. Next slide, Jessica. Filled it all in, raked it all in, matched it, and then the side on the right is what it looks like now. It's not a hole anymore. It's an alligator still a little bit around it, but at least it's not a hole. It's not, you know, mess your car up. Next slide, Jessica.
Could you stop for a minute?
Yeah, so we go back.
Well, I can make the comment, just keep going.
Okay,
Joe, so.
alright. And then same thing, Gene called, this is one that Gene called in,
Right.
the pothole that one of our residents called in. Same thing, it's just a couple cracks, or just about a huge hole, but the rest of the asphalt is still in place, so we cut it out, all the bad stuff. Next slide, Jessica. So what it looked like after we ripped up all the little demo, we filled it in, we heated up, make sure it was all nice and, you know, movable, and it would all form to the rest of the asphalt. Next slide, Jessica. That's what it looks like after we formed it, we filled in that huge hole, not a hole in the road anymore, so.
One thing in looking at these pictures, I'm impressed with what our current crew is doing as it relates to pothole filling.
Yeah.
Because historically, it's just been take the cold mix, which is junk, and just shove it in the pothole and
It doesn't fly.
Doesn't work.
they're now cutting these out and
Absolutely.
heating the asphalt. If you don't heat the asphalt, it's worthless.
Well, yeah, so we bought in the past, right,
Because it won't bind, but when you're really taking that serious, you can see the fire and previous,
yeah. I
so-
tried to make it look cooler, more exciting, so.
And then when you see the end result, that's pretty nice looking pothole repair. So, I just started twigging onto that. in the
I was, yeah, absolutely, thank
And
you,
I
thank you.
needed to mention it to you that I think this is much better.
Yeah,
It looks better and it works better.
it works a lot better. I mean, in the past, we used to just throw the mix in, and even if it's got a weird shape or whatever, but what we noticed is if you cut it out and then just dump it in, and it's got a nice flat, clean edge to press up against.
Yeah.
It's got nowhere else to go except for clean edge. It's got a good asphalt right there. It's not going anywhere from.
This is on the road suit product, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they used to just put, road soup and,
Yeah, and then we drive over it with our truck or whatever, and all the, and
So
you guys,
Who's?
Dave actually did help cut it out, and
About
then
that.
he said, he said his buddy told him something about if you stomp him with the jumping jack too, get some really like nice and tight and
Oh,
really
yeah.
compacted. So we used to run him over with our trucks in the past.
Yeah.
And we thought with all the weight, you know, that should work good, but he's like, no, cut it out, fill it in, this is way better than starting every single bottle, but for as long as we're able to, and it's not allocated too much.
Like anything, it's in the preparation, and if
Yeah,
you're prepping it, so just fill them full.
So you put
absolutely.
that cold, what is that called? Cold town?
It's called cold mix, yeah.
Okay, and then you heat it,
Yeah, and then you heat it up and then it's
just
just
like
like
a blow
makes it.
type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. The propane bottle is kind of torch for testing it, you heat it up and it really makes it stick and bind together and like actually hold, so.
See, you don't have to heat it. You and I can do it with a shower.
My husband did it, and it's horrible.
Well, if you don't heat it, it won't bind.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
it sticks a
And
little
then it
bit.
cracks.
It sticks,
Yeah.
it's kind of sticky, but
it is.
It's on, you know, so you're doing it the right way.
it's sweet.
What about those cracks?
The cracks, yeah, that's, I mean, what I've seen in the past is they either like, they have like this truck that comes around, and they slurry seal it or whatever, but yeah, I mean, that's how you get those little cracks, is how they spread and then becomes a bigger problem, a bigger
Is there any
issue, but.
plan to do anything about the cracks?
Don't we have
We
a
are-
crack seal
yeah,
machine, or we used to?
Those are stress cracks.
That I do not know, if we have a machine to do it.
Unfortunately, it takes those guys getting into the rain, meeting this,
Yeah.
go through the repair.
Right.
It could be thermal stress.
Crack sealing machine, and I guess we don't have it. yet.
Well, that's junk. That's why we're slurring,
Right.
Yeah,
because it gets down in there.
that's how it starts, yeah, you're right, that's how it starts.
Years before, they were going around spider webbing the roads, but you don't get enough oil in there,
No.
and it looks bad, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe it gets the same amount of oil, but when you just do a slurry, everything's covered with the oil, oil seeps down in, and you get your road stripe, and you get your new pavement markings, you know, and
My only
does-
point is that with the cracks there, you can, it can erode and you can have a problem. And if you're really gonna fix that, something has to be done about. that.
Absolutely, well, you look at the original picture.
well,
Right, so obviously, yeah, it's like the cracks, we figure out something we can do about them, but it was just, we couldn't leave that huge hole in the road, so, yeah, I totally agree though, yeah, if you just doing that, you're gonna be bad.
Yeah, right,
Always another crack nearby.
right. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
other expense.
But he's absolutely right, that's how the road cracks and the rain comes, it leaks in all those cracks, and that's how you get.
Is there anything that, I know that, I remember we used to do all of that spring, you have all of this all over the place, but is there anything we can do as a temporary measure to, as opposed to, I mean, a slurry seal is a fairly large operation to get done. Is there
right.
anything we can do to seal those cracks in the interim? Maybe.
Well, those are probably sealed from the last time we slurried it.
That's, so it's
Those
probably
cracks
hard
have
to.
been there a long time.
Yeah, so some of those cracks have been there for a long time, and then there's also others where they've already came, and then they sealed it with
That was
the.
all alligator in the middle. So that whole section needs to be worked on.
Yeah,
And they're everywhere in the district.
okay.
So that's why
That'll be a whole
we
other,
need to.
job task, yeah.
The more water you keep out of them, the less.
the longer it lasts, so, yeah.
But eventually, you know, these roads are gonna fall apart and they're just gonna have to come out and be overlaid.
Mhm.
And then all those cracks and stuff will go away for 20 years. And then they'll be back again. They'll be back. They'll get 20 years of relief.
Typically before slurry, we crack seal with a no tack track or no track tack, just a tack coat, just a thick. Oily kind of product. The one that's big is when you get a cold mix or hot mix.
Right, right, okay.
Slurry itself isn't waterproof, it's a permeable mixture, so it's just slurrying it wouldn't solve it, you would have to fill it with some.
Right. Because my concern again is that they did a great job, but with those cracks there, they could undermine what they did. And that's the only concern I have. And I don't mean to say you shouldn't have done it. I think you should.
No, yeah, it's absolutely right.
Okay, but we maybe need to think in terms of, doing some other things relative to the cracks we get.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we can take emulsion and we can pour those holes. There are bottles, 5 gallon bottles, you can buy emulsions, just throw in there for the time being.
Be doing that for.
Yeah, just put it down here.
Gotcha.
And what is that called?
It's emulsion,
Okay,
the water and asphalt,
Okay.
oil
okay.
mix, it's called emulsion.
Next up. So yeah, so now let's get into some of the tree trimming we did. This was over via Vaquero and via Delos Robles. Same thing, couldn't see the sign. Now you can see it. So. Same thing, this was via Gorion. This is over by where you guys did your women's club meeting. This is over on the other side of via Gorion. Couldn't see the stop sign, so we turned it back so they can see the stop sign nice and clear. Next slide. Yeah, that's what I really wanted to show you though. This is via Gorion, still the same road, but this is on going the other direction. As you can see on the picture on the left, all the trees are literally almost touching the yellow line. I mean, I'm literally standing on the white line. It's like it still doesn't really do it justice. But and then picture on the right is what it looked like once we started cutting just a couple of them down. Okay, now we got the whole lane blocked, and then that's what it looked like. We came with the chipper and everything. The whole white line is kind of exposed. Some of it's eating up, but at least instead of being 7-8 feet into the road, it's now at least 4 or 5 feet off of the white line. So at least trimmed it back a lot. So next slide, Jessica. That's it. That's it. Questions? Concerns?
Okay, thanks, Nick.
All right,
Very good.
Sweet.
All right, moving on then, we're on to item I, which is committee reports. As always, the crew has given my report for me from the engineering committee. The only other thing was the conversation that we had. So let's move on to the finance committee.
Okay, thank you very much. We met yesterday. And would you want to talk about this piece of paper or this discussion?
It's not in the board packet, cause we could talk about it, or I could bring it next
Let's
month.
bring next one. We're supposed to be
they can
putting
see.
minutes of the committee meetings in with the board booklet.
Well, we were only putting agendas in.
Yeah, I know, but we were supposed to be putting
Oh,
minutes
I
of all of the information. Okay,
Okay, well,
next month we'll talk.
you know, put the minutes and that spreadsheet in.
So it wouldn't make sense just to be throwing numbers at you and
Right.
not have that in front of you, so we can
Right.
talk about it the next time. We've looked at the treasury bill investments, and as you all know today, the Fed lowered the interest rate by 50 basis points, and so we've already started to see a drop in the treasury bill rate, and it's actually at or below the rate, so we're decided not to renew the treasury bill and just keep the money in late, since it's about the same interest rate and it's more liquid. So that's what we'll be doing as we go forward. I think that those were the major items that that we discussed. Was there anything else?
Yes, about the audit.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. The audit is on schedule. It's gonna be presented to the committee in November and to the board, in our meeting in December. Thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to item J then, which is the general manager's, I'm sorry, the third item, the committee reports is a legislative committee report. Do you have anything on that?
No report tonight.
All right, let's move on to item J then, which is general manager's report.
I'm working with our president, Debbie, getting the October 22nd meeting with the senator. And so we're producing, we're gonna send out a mailing to every resident. We've gotten the mailing addresses from CR North, where they send the bills, you know, so.
Right.
Debbie and I have been working on some drafts and working with Jessica. And we're thinking that that'll go out to every home around October 1st.
Okay.
And they will be calling to RSVP, so to our office, which is gonna create some calls, I think we're gonna get a good turnout. But that way we will know how many people are coming, just for the logistics of parking cars and the refreshments and that sort of thing. I did talk to Supervisor Washington's office, and, I think it's possible that he'll be coming also, but I haven't gotten that confirmed yet. I'll probably hear by the end of the week. And, so that would be good if that occurred, meet your supervisor also. So, anyway, that's, mark your calendar.
And we've had conversations in committees about the potential of having a newsletter that this upcoming newsletter will kind of be the precursor of a quarterly or something similar, so we get some.
So now we have the addresses, and those are good addresses, because that's where the bills go for the.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we've got that, and we'll have to start working that into our.
I'll be happy to help it.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, thank you, okay.
Okay, if you want it, Teresa, if you want. Just draft something, send it, you know.
Do that.
I attended the CSDA meeting in India Wells and did have a meeting with, some representatives of SDRMA regarding insurance and, nothing eventful came of that. Also Cyrus, well, Ward and Cyrus were both at the conference also. So we did some things together and attended some meetings, and Cyrus was helping with the SDRMA and our insurance issues with them. So, that was very helpful. So, and then I guess finally, I'm on vacation for 2 weeks starting Friday. So, if you need me, I will be in the United States. It's called Alaska. My cell phone should ring just fine. But, anyway, so.
So you won't be in the loops.
What's that?
You won't be in the loops, otherwise the cell phone wouldn't be working.
Yeah. Oh, you're right, you're right. And I guess since we're still in my report, I haven't gotten back to them because we've been doing other things. But we're doing some digging, and I may have mentioned it to you before, but we are doing some digging on cell phone service. Because, after your meeting a time or two ago, I talked to Ward after the meeting and I said, you guys have any connection to that? Well, sure enough, being case so big, they have a lawyer that does FCC work or whatever. So we talked to her on Friday on the phone, and, the problem is she gave me a few things she needed to know, and, I didn't understand the word what she was saying. And I thought, Dave, I needed a chocolate.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've got a list of things I need before I get back through about our service and our tower and stuff like that. So I'll call you if you don't
Do that.
mind.
Do that, and I'll.
You'll know what it's, that she wants. And it's more kind of regulatory, physical and regulatory, I think, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Because she needs to understand what we have. It's amazing how much is out there, because as we're talking to her, she's looking, typing in and looking at screens. The federal government knows where everything related to radio is. I was amazed. Even properties that have some certain kinds of radios, they know all about it. And when I identified our tower that we're on, I mean, she's just spieling off who's on that tower with us. And so I just didn't know that they monitored it that closely. So anyway, it's a work in progress. So that's my report.
All right, very good. We're going to be moving later into a closed session for some legal issues. But do you have anything, Board, before that?
Just a short report. We've continuing to monitor the County of San Diego's website for the winery issue. There's been no resubmission of an application So, status is still withdrawn.
Okay.
And then I gave everybody this, key insights into open government and ethics. This replaces our pocket parks that we were doing in previous years. The information on the pocket parks has become so voluminous that we can't fit it into the pocket anymore.
Yeah.
So, now we've moved to these booklets but they're still meant to be just like little reference material that tells you about the gift rules for public officials, public records, Brown Act. There's a new one called the Levine Act. Completing how to complete your Form 700. So that's all contained now in this book. This just was published within the last week.
Thank you so much.
Latest information on that, yeah. This is for you, Jim.
Oh, that, forget that one.
You get your-
Oh.
And, that's all I've got.
All right. With that then, we're going to, adjourn the regular meeting and move into the closed session. And, we'll ask, everyone, another, on the board or involved in the line. All right, we have, completed the, closed session. And so we're back in the regular session now for the 18th, meeting of the 18th, correct? Anyone have any other,
Mr. Chairman, there's nothing to report at the closed session.
oh, nothing to report out of closed session? Any other items that the directors want to bring up? We are then adjourned. Where to tell you, I don't want to get any better at this.